we take you to India's Jammu and Kashmir state, where the misled Kashmiri youth and students have turned into stone pelters. Provoked by the separatists and external forces, these youths target the security forces and interrupt their operations. We have a report.
The unruly acts by these masked stone pelters are aggravating the unrest in the Kashmir Valley. It affects business, education, development and creates an atmosphere of lawlessness in the valley, which is known for its tourism and handicrafts. These misled youth attacking armed police personnel and soldiers is a common sight in the valley. The trend started in 2008 when fist-sized rocks became the preferred ammunition for these street protesters. Since then, many police personnel and soldiers have been killed and injured during clashes with stone pelters, incited and paid for by Pakistani-backed separatists. Pakistan, which claims Jammu and Kashmir as its own, plays a major role in creating unrest in the valley. It supports valley-based separatists and encourages them to incite violence to attract the attention of the international community to the unrest in India's northwestern state. Injuries to people are advertised as brutality and human rights violations by the security forces. Social media is used to exhort people to come out of their homes and disrupt any anti-terror operations of the security forces to help militants flee. Stone pelters are paid to take part in such protests.
Unrest in Kashmir Valley goes in favor of Pakistan. However, the people of Kashmir Valley fail to understand the malicious intentions of Pakistan. To understand the business behind stone pelting, we are now joined by Junaid Qureshi, a Kashmiri writer and director at Germany-based European Foundation for South Asian Studies. Mr. Junaid, since you belong to Kashmir Valley, we would like to ask you as to why these children pelt stones on security forces.
Why are these children going out while an encounter is going on? What will you gain from it? Well, what will you gain by throwing stones at paramilitary forces, whether these are Jammu Kashmir Police, CRPF, the army or whoever it is? What will you gain from that? This is not the way to whatever dissent or whatever political ideology you believe in to propagate that. It will only cause death and destruction. And to be very frank with you, it doesn't make a damn difference to India or Pakistan. At the end of the day, Kashmiris are dying. Kashmiri people are losing. Our economy is ruined. We have been suffering from a strike and a curfew on and on for the last 8 months. In total, in the last 26 years, 7 years Kashmir has remained closed.
What could be the interest of those provoking these youths, many of them as young as 10-year-old, to stone pelting?
The moment someone dies, the separatists have again an issue which they take up. There is a hartal, there is a strike, there is a curfew, someone else dies, again. It is a continuous thing. So it's very obvious that those who are playing politics on the dead bodies of Kashmiri youth, they are the only beneficiaries of these killings.
The protesters in Kashmir Valley usually raise Pakistani or ISIS flags. Will it serve their purpose?
It is Pakistan who invaded Jammu and Kashmir after signing a standstill agreement with the Maharaja, which forced the Maharaja to eventually sign an instrument of accession with India. So I don't think it serves any purpose. Look, ISIS or Daesh or whatever you may call it has been branded a terrorist organizations by everyone in the world, by the EU, by the UN, even by Muslim countries. What do we expect when we raise ISIS flags in Srinagar? That the world will listen to us? That the world will talk about us? We are raising the flag of a terrorist, inhuman organization which sells young girls as of the age of 7 as sex slaves, and which butchers people. And we are raising their flags, and at the same time we expect the UN to intervene.
People in Kashmir Valley believes Pakistan is sympathetic to them. How true is that?
I don't think Pakistan has ever been sympathetic to the Kashmiris. It's a farce. When has Pakistan been sympathetic to the Kashmiris? Pakistan invaded our state, it looted, it raped our women. Is that sympathy towards us? Pakistan introduced the gun by its intelligence agency in the 90s. Pakistan drove out the Kashmiri Pandits from Kashmir. It made a political and a human issue into a religious issue. It is inducing radicalism, religious extremism. When has Pakistan been sympathetic to us? There is hue and cry whenever Article 370 is taken up for discussion in India. The state subject rule in Gilgit-Baltistan was abrogated in 1972. The Prime Minister of Azad Kashmir cannot take oath of his office until and unless he swears allegiance to Jammu Kashmir's succession to Pakistan. Nobody can have a government job in Azad Kashmir until he believes in Jammu Kashmir's succession to Pakistan. I don't believe Pakistan has any sympathy for us. On the contrary, I believe Pakistan has really diminished our genuine demands and made us look like terrorists.
Moving on, Nepal President Bidhya Devi Bhandari's recent visit to India is being seen as crucial as when the Himalayan nation is gearing up for the local polls on May 14. The elections slated to be held after 2 decades are witnessing an opposition by the Madhesis who want the constitution to be amended first. New Delhi wishes Kathmandu to give equal rights of the minorities. We have a report.
New Delhi rolled out the red carpet for Nepal's first female president, Bidhya Devi Bhandari, who arrived in India for a 5-day visit with an aim to strengthen age-old relations between the countries. The president was accompanied by a 33-member delegation, including Foreign Minister Prakash Sharan Mahat.
नेपाल भारत असाध्यै नजिकको छिमेकी मित्र राष्ट्रहरू हौं र छिमेकी मात्रै होइन धेरै कुराले हाम्रा कतिपय मूल्य मान्यताहरू धार्मिक सांस्कृतिक सामाजिक र कतिपय व्यवस्थाहरू पनि समान छन् हामी धेरै नै निकट छौं र व्यक्तिगत रूपमा पनि म धेरै निकटता महसुस गर्छु.
Bhandari met top Indian leaders including Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and discussed the issues of mutual concern. Indian President Pranab Mukherjee hosted a banquet in the honor of visiting Nepalese President at Rashtrapati Bhavan. President Mukherjee said India is hopeful that Nepal will be able to forge consensus through dialogue in its quest for peace, stability and multi-party democracy, taking all the sections of its society on board. Bhandari's visit to India was marked crucial as the Himalayan nation is scheduled to hold local polls on May 14. The Madhesh-based parties have threatened the government that they would disrupt the local elections if their demands, including proportional representation in parliament, are not addressed. The Madheshis, who claim to represent the interests of inhabitants of the southern Terai region, who are mostly Indian origin, demand that the constitution promulgated in 2015 be amended to revise the provisions of citizenship and redemarcation of the provincial boundary before going to the May polls.
Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal is holding talks with the United Democratic Madhesi Front, urging them to accept the Constitution Amendment Bill and take part in the upcoming elections. We are now joined by Mr. Ishwar Dev Khanal, a political analyst based in Kathmandu. Mr. Ishwar, how crucial was the visit of President Bidhya Devi Bhandari to India as when Nepal is gearing up for the local polls?
Nepal's President Bidhya Devi Bhandari's visit to India has been very meaningful and very significant at a time when Nepal is going to hold local elections after more than 19 years. So this has been President Bhandari's visit has been seen as we can say a milestone at the moment to further enhance or to further strengthen ties between the two very good neighbors, I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Ishwar. Let's move on to Afghanistan, where US President Donald Trump's National Security Advisor, HR Mcmaster, met top officials in Kabul. The meeting came days after the United States dropped the mother of all bombs, which has 11 tons of explosives in the eastern part of the country. We have a report.
On April 21, the Taliban fighters launched a surprise, complex attack on a key Afghan army headquarters in bulk, leaving over 100 Afghan soldiers dead as fighting continues in the embattled territory. Some 10 Taliban fighters and suicide bombers, disguised as Afghan soldiers, opened fire on Afghan troops in the facility's dining hall and inside the base's mosque. 2 of the other bombers detonated their ordnance inside both facilities. Afghan special forces intervened and brought to an end the nearly 7-hour firefight at the base.
ما خو صدا شنیدیم یک 3-4 صدا شاید راکت بود چیز بود خو پس همون تا آمدیم دیگه جنگ شروع بود.
The incident came days after General H.R. Mcmaster, the first high-level US official, visited Kabul and held meetings with President Ashraf Ghani, National Security Advisor Hanif Atmar and other high-level Afghan officials to discuss joint efforts to counter terrorist groups. The visit comes just days after the US dropped the GBU-43 massive ordnance air blast bomb, one of the largest conventional weapons ever used in combat, nicknamed the mother of all bombs, during an operation against ISIS in the Achin district of Nangarhar province.
Well, it's not just the bomb, but it's really what our soldiers are doing every day alongside courageous Afghan soldiers, fighting Daesh, ensuring that these people who victimize women, who shoot people in hospital beds, we cannot tolerate the existence of that kind of an organization. They're a threat to all civilized people. So we have come together in a long struggle against these groups who must be defeated.
Mcmaster pledged support and cooperation with Kabul, even hinting at a troop surge to bolster the nearly 9,000 US troops stationed there, without outlining an official plan.
Well, I think the Taliban must be defeated as well. They can be defeated in a number of ways. For those that are reconcilable, who are now willing to join their Afghan brothers to strengthen the Afghan state, to end the violence, to be part of the political process, I think your president and the chief executive officer, Abdullah, they would welcome them back in.
The Afghan government refers to both the Taliban and Islamic State as terrorists. Afghan forces have struggled to contain Taliban insurgents since most international troops were withdrawn in 2014, leaving them to fight largely alone.
At the peak in 2011, the United States had more than 100,000 troops stationed in Afghanistan. Moving on to Sri Lanka, where nearly 100 people were buried after a massive rubbish dump collapsed in capital Colombo last week. Search operations are still continuing to find more victims buried under the rubble, after the toll from its collapse rose to 30.
Sri Lanka's New Year Day on April 15th turned tragic for many families in the Mito Tamula area of Colombo city, when a 90-meter-high dump collapsed on Friday evening, burying many homes. Hundreds of rescue workers were still searching for missing people at the accident site. In an estimate, some 145 houses were damaged in the tragedy.
Now I think this mound has come down in quite a strength in manner where in some areas we have to dig up to 20 feet. In some areas 20, some areas it might be little further. So depending on the information that we get from the people saying who are the people who are living in the area, based on those information only we can continue our process.
Residents of the area, mostly living in shanties, have been demanding the removal of the dump, saying it was causing health issues. The government had planned to remove it soon under an infrastructure plan. The residents are shocked with the tragic incident as government failed to remove the dump on time.
Amagi Jivite, Martin Mapita, Chia, the Vedia, Jivite, Netula, Apiadatia, Apela, Mang and Abalari, Apin the Nadila, made a provision of Madenik, after calling do not be kiwi, out of the calling up in the Haskala, then they all out of the Runa about Sela Pinilla Karnokia.
The Colombo Municipal Council was scrambling for new locations to dump the roughly 800 tons of garbage produced every day in the capital as crows and stray dogs picked through bags of reeking garbage left on city streets. The council has sought permission from a local magistrate to access another tip outside the city limits, promising it would clear the 4-day backlog of trash within 24 hours.
Waste management is a major issue not only in Sri Lanka but also in rest of South Asia. Moving on, now let's join the celebrations of Bengali New Year, popularly known as Poila Baisakh. It is celebrated around mid-April every year with much fanfare in India and Bangladesh. Take a look.
Dressed in colourful traditional attires, thousands marched through the streets of Dhaka to celebrate the Bengali New Year. Some of them had their faces painted and danced on the beats of dhol. Nobaborsha or Bengali New Year is a national festival and is celebrated with much exuberance across Bangladesh.
বৈশাখের প্রথম দিন নববর্ষ উদযাপন করতে এসেছি। আজকে বৈশাখ সমগ্র বাংলাদেশের জাতীয় উৎসবে পরিণত হয়েছে। আমরা মঙ্গল শোভাযাত্রায় অংশগ্রহণ করতে এসেছি এবং সারা দিন আজকে আমরা আনন্দ উল্লাসে দিন কাটাবো।
A similar enthusiasm was witnessed in India's Kolkata city as hundreds of revelers wound their way through the streets as they ushered in New Year of the Bengali community, Poila Boishakh. Dressed in festive finery, local residents played musical instruments, danced and sang songs as a colourful procession went around the city. To mark the day, people come together forgetting all religious and caste divides.
It's a very special day for Bengalis all over the world. And I have seen in Bangladesh, the people of Bangladesh, how they celebrate it, and we are also trying to do that. There will be no separation, no caste, no religious barriers. All the Bengalis, we like to celebrate this, and that's why we are in the same boat, we are celebrating it.
Poila Boishakh celebrations last over a week and are marked by a variety of cultural programs and fairs.
Now I take your leave with some glimpses of a fashion show held recently in India's western Gujarat state. Take care and goodbye.